Yesterday we were talking about rhythm, right? And we had rhythm. Everybody knew what rhythm was. They could make rhythms with their hands by pounding out beats. And then we talked about how does that look visually? What is rhythm like when it's visual? Same thing with movement. What we're going to talk about today is, we all know I'm moving, right? But what does that look like? How does the artist show movement in art? So that's what we're going to talk about. Because most things don't move in visual. There's ways of doing it. And we're going to talk about visual movement in two ways. There's kind of two ways of thinking about it. And so we're going to give it two definitions. Okay. Yes, what's your question?
What is that?
Oh, I just decided to make my my graphic organizer into different shapes today. You can. Anybody want to guess why I made it that shape? Yeah, what kind of lines did I use to make these shapes? Curved, yes. So you already got a little clue as to how we show movement, and that's through the choice of lines that we use. All right, so there's two things two definitions. This is going to be definition numero uno. If you don't speak Spanish, that's number one. No, I'm funny. Okay, and that's the principle of art. Getting ahead of myself. Of art used to create the look and feeling of action. All right, so the next part of this is, how do you do that? Ways to create a look or feeling of action. Okay, and that is, there's two ways. One, you're going to use curved, diagonal, and zigzag lines. Those are all going to make things look like they move, because when I'm not moving, you look at me, I'm not moving, I am a vertical line. The minute I start to move, I become, exaggerating of course, I become a zigzag or diagonal line. Your legs have to go diagonally in order to move, right? Your knee has to bend in order to move. So those are things, same thing with your arms. The minute your arms start moving, they are going to show movement, okay? And then the second way is through repetition, which, overlaps with what we saw yesterday. Can you think of any kinds of art that actually move that would be considered visual art? Wind chimes, yes, that would be an example. And those are kind of a version of what we call a mobile. You know what those are? Probably when you were babies, you had them hanging above your crib. And those are only kind of a recent invention. Okay, and what kind of art form is there that appears like it's moving? Huh? Optical illusions. What about movies? That's visual art, right? Okay, how do they create that look of action? It looks like they're really moving when you see a motion picture, but what's really happening? You're seeing lots of little pictures, and each time there's just a little fragment of movement. So from one to the next, so that would be obviously repetition. Okay, let me show you a few examples I found. Here's one. What's moving in this picture?
The dress in the tree.
I think the dresses on the tree are what are moving. And see how they're a diagonal line? Yes, the tree has curvy lines, but it's not as clear there that that's moving. It may be moving, but it's not as clear as the dresses here because they're flapping in the breeze. This has something to do with a flood. Okay, another one. Here's an interesting one where they used repetition to show movement. This was a group of artists called the Futurists, and they wanted to show motion. This one's in your book. I don't know if any of you have seen it or not. If you turn to page somewhere between pages 211 and 213, you'll see it. But what do you see here? What's happening? What's moving? A dog? I don't know how well you can see it. I can't see it very well. Let's try to learn. Oh, no, I don't want to stop recording. Look in your book. 212, 213. There it is. 212. The top of 212. Okay. That's a good example. So what have they repeated over and over again? How many tails does the dog have? 8. Okay, is that real? No. That's just this artist's way of showing that the tail is wagging. What about its feet? They're trying to capture that. What's this? What's this? A turtle? What?
A person's legs.
These are a person's legs down here. What are these things coming down here? The leash, yes. Okay, so what the artist, that is a very good example of trying to show movement. Here is a very famous sculpture. I'm not sure whether this is in your book, but you can see it. Okay, that's a figure. Is the artist interested in showing you what this person looks like? No. What are they interested in showing you? Those are crazy muscles. Okay. They could do a better job if they wanted to show muscles. Okay? What are they trying to show here? You guys know what I'm going for. Look at these coming off of here. They're trying to show a figure in movement. So that's the whole point of this sculpture. Here's another one. Okay? Look at the lines. This is somewhat horizontal, but it's curved horizontal. That's diagonal, zigzag, diagonal, zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. And then over here we have what are called motion lines for the tire. And I'm going to show that in a little more detail. So comics use motion lines. So here's some different ways you can do it. Here they're just using straight motion lines. And then here they're using one where they're actually using the figure in there, but blurring the lines in here. So a lot of different ways to show motion. Here's another one. What does this show? Okay, we see the movement. This tells us where his arm is bent and where it's going to, right? Why is this ball so big? Because it's closer, right? It's a good example of perspective. This ball is not bigger than the pitcher's head, right? All right, so for number 45, this could be my 45, although I want you to make your own. Now let's say you want to do a figure, find a figure in a magazine, and then maybe draw some motion lines after it. Okay, so 45 is a composition that looks like I'm going to say the figures, doesn't have to be, I mean, a ball is not a figure, it's an inanimate object. So let's say the objects, bless you, look like they are moving. Okay? Questions so far? All right, now we're going to go back to our notes, and we're going to talk about the second kind of movement, and that is where definition numero dos, that's number 2. All right, and that is the principle of art. Used, and there'll be some overlap here between these two definitions. Sometimes you'll see both in an artwork. Used to guide the viewer's eye. Whoops. The viewer's eye throughout the work of art. And there's a perfect example in your book. Can I borrow your book for a minute? Because I don't have mine open. And for those of you that took this class so you can take ceramics, if you will look on page 212, maybe I can't adjust. I can't adjust here. You see it now? Yeah, that's better. Hold on. For those of you that haven't figured out to get your book out. All right, so this shows some pottery, and where is the eye directed to? How does it move throughout the pot when you look straight down at it from the top? And we also often look at ceramics and pottery from the top. So you look at it from all sides. You look at it from the side, the top. So you need to consider all sides when you're designing pottery. So see how your eye, these lines, force your eyes to move to the center. They direct you to the center of your piece. All right, another example. Let's see what I've got. Here's one, very famous one. I know you can't see my, oh, and let me add the ways to do it. I'll adjust and then I'll show you some more. So the ways to So the ways to guide the viewer's eyes throughout the composition is through two ways. One, repetition. Repetition. Watch how you spell that word. Some of you put I's in where you should have E's. Yeah, first you repeat the E, and then you repeat the I. So repetiti. Isn't that interesting that the word repetition is repeats? Is repetitious. That's the word I wanted. Didn't think of it. All right, so let me give you an example. So for example, a good example would be, remember when we had the progressive? As it gets bigger, my eye is just going to follow that and move with it. Okay? And the other way is through lines. And we had the perfect example with that pottery. I'm going to reconstruct it from the top. So it came down around like this and ended up there. So my eyes. Another one would be something we've already done is converging lines. Remember those? Okay. So all artwork, for the most part, is going to have some kind of movement. Oh, did I do that too quickly? Everybody got that down? Anybody need me to wait more? No? Okay. So let me show you some examples. Here's one where there's not, this is I don't know, has anyone ever been to the Chicago Art Institute? I'm always amazed how many people go to Chicago and never seen this. Okay, this is a very famous painting. It's huge. It covers an entire wall. And it's done with pointillism. You can't see the texture because of the color, but is anybody moving here? Not really. It seems like everybody's just frozen, right? But what moves your eye? What's repeated over and over again? There's a lot of things that are repeated. There's these umbrellas, yes. So your eyes will move from umbrella, 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 etc. What else? Okay, the women's skirts. Yeah, they've got that bustle. I think that's what it's called. And they have the shadows. Yes, shadows. Good. Repeat. Look at the trees. Bump, 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 bump. So moves your eye throughout the composition. So that's what we're talking about. Let me show you another. I wish I had a better. Right now we're studying Rome in art history. And what's repeated here? And these actually are doorways. This is what they are. They're arches. This is a huge building. This is the Roman Colosseum, where they have the gladiators fighting and everything. And this was really an invention of the Romans. We take Colosseums for granted. We're used to them. But this was very innovative at the time. And what it did was it allowed a lot of people to move into the Colosseum at the same time. So through that, let me show you a few more. Here would be an example. Again, nothing's moving, but your eye can't help but move around and follow these lines, right? It almost looks like it's moving, but it's not. And then I think maybe the last one I'll show you. What's that look like there? Zoom in. What causes your eyes to move here? What's repeated? Okay. Yeah, and the trees are repeated. granted they're different sizes. Kind of, I don't know if you can see this too. These blocks are repeated. So you got tree, 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 tree. So that keeps your, or you can move from here to here to here to here. And then once you get here, you see these people. Maybe these people are important. Okay. So the last assignment in your journal. Woo! Think we'd ever make it? Is to make a composition. Six. I put 6 down first. Composition. Yeah, it's your last one. Is it 46 or is it 47? It's 46. Okay, composition. Where your eye.
Can you scooch it down?
Yep. Oh yeah, I zoomed it, didn't I? Where your eye moves throughout the composition. So you could use both repetition and line, converging lines. Or some kind of shape. So for example, repetition. Let me use repetition first. Let me keep this simple. They don't have to be all the same. I don't know what that is, but there's an example where because you've repeated that over and over again, your eye moves across the composition. This is a little more abstract to understand. And then one where the line just moves your eye. I'm being very literal here. All right. So your eye would follow that line, or you could do, there's a million ways to do every assignment I give you. When we did the convergence and the emphasis, that's what those lines were doing, was moving your eye towards the middle. All right. Any questions?